All right, so we're going to begin this video with a reference here from the Sundervan Pictorial Bible Dictionary. I've actually found an original version of this in the archive.org website. All right, again, the Sundervan Pictorial Bible Dictionary. General editor is Merrill C. Tini, Dean of the Graduate School of Theology, Wheaton College, Wheaton, Illinois. All right, associate editor Stephen Barabbas, THD, picture and layout editor Peter D. Weiser, with the assistance of 65 contributors, scholars, and experts in various fields. All right. So this is from 1963, 1964, and 1967 copies. All right. So these are the sources of the pictures it says here. You can see all the sources. All right, and contributors to this work, this book, this dictionary. All right, just an example: Polly Adolf, School of Medicine, University of Pennsylvania. All right, look at this. All right, so these are all the people helping out and contributing in this book. All right, all of these are like college PhD professors and stuff. This is a very scholarly book, actually. It's not just any book. I don't know if you heard about it before when we were, looking for certain words and stuff. All right, and we run into this book, but this book actually has changed over the years. This book from the 1960s, very thorough. All right, it's very original and has a lot of information that was taken out or changed. The words changed as time went on. I can show you different versions of this because I do have them, but I like to show you this is the originals, first ones, printed in the 60s. All right, so these are all the contributors again. So we're in page 330. We're in the H's, right? Just wanted to start out this video with this definition so you can get a feeling of where I'm taking this. All right, so it says Ham, all right? It says the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negroes. Again, very important, right? I know that kind of confuses a lot of people, all right? But like we've been trying to say, all skin folk ain't king folk, all right? Again, Ham, he is the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negroes, all right? Not the Nagas, not the Negroes, not the copper-colored races in America, but of the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. His indecency when his father lay drunken brought a curse upon Canaan. All right, I know a lot of the people fight that because they're trying to say, oh, that's just like a white man to blame the only so-called Negro, right, as the one being cursed. But again, they're telling you straight up here that Ham, he is a progenitor of dark races, but not of the Negroes, the Nagas, the Negus, the Nagas, the kings, the priest kings. He's the progenitor of the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. All right. And one thing we have to know and dodge the hijack in is that we assume that Japhet was white, that Shem was, white like the white Israelites, and that Ham was the only Negro, and that's totally false. Totally false. So that whole, they're just trying to blame the dark-skinned man and curse him. No, that's you're wrong. It has nothing to do with complexion. Has nothing to do with complexion. All right. Again, Ham is the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negroes. Not the Negroes. Yes, dark races, but not the Negroes. Doesn't mean, this is telling you straight up that not all dark-skinned people in the world are related or of the same, nation, tribe, or whatever, or ancestor. All right, so now we're in this book or article, scholarly, actually, it's called Moabites and Berbers. Are these names and people historically synonymous? Analyzing historical, biblical, and archaeological correlations, by Cheek Wei L of the Moorish American Research Group for the Moorish Science Society, March 23rd. 2017. This is just 2 years ago. All right, let's get up to date. All right, so Who is Shigwe L? So we're in this website, independentacademia.edu. I get a lot of very scholarly articles from this website. So we find Shigwe L here. It says Moorish American researcher seeking to prove the historical doctrine of Prophet Noble Drew Ali and other related topics. All right, we're gonna get into this article right now, which I have open, and this is another one here. It's another website here, lulu.com. It's, I guess, a bookstore or whatever. So it says about Shigwe L, and these are some of the books he's got. The Moabites. Who are the Moors? Moabites. Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Moorish literature, compiled articles and lectures. Moorish American civics and guide. Debunking the myth of blackness. All right, you ain't black. Moor's been telling you for years. That's just a tag, right? Doesn't hold up in law or anything. Don't call yourself black. That don't mean nothing. The Moorish Scientist Book 1. All right, and so on. So, I mean, he's very important in this Moorish community with the teachings and the history. All right, I guess, I don't know, because I don't know Moors that read his books, but I would consider him, if I was a Moor, somebody you can trust with information, or maybe, or has a strong influence. All right, he has a lot to say. He has a lot of books published. All right, maybe some Moors may not agree, saying, oh, no, he doesn't represent all of us. But hey, what I just wanted to show is that he wrote an article, and it's very historical. All right, and that's what I want to show. So let's go back to the book. All right, so we're back in the article, and it starts. The Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. All right, Prophet Noble Drew Ali said this numerous times. What does he mean by that? What's a Moabite? You know? And what do you mean they inhabited Africa? Thought it was America. All right, so the above quote, along with several others that will be highlighted throughout this exposition as given by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, founder of the Moorish Science movement in America, in the first Islamic organization, the first Islamic organization in the United States of America, serves as a perplexing paradox between what is perceived as biblical invention and historical reality. All right? This paper intends to show the historical records that verify the above quotes said by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, extracted from what was at first thought to be a strange doctrine. In fact, if you were to compare the Nation of Islam's page on Wikipedia and the Moorish Science Temple of America's page, you will notice that the doctrine of the Nation of Islam is extensively examined, while the doctrine of the Moorish Science Temple of America is hardly spoken about. When it comes to the subject of Noble Drew Ali, more emphasis is placed upon scholastic guesswork than anything tangible. There are so many sources that this researcher has come across that has ostensibly stigmatized the Moabite aspect of Ali's teachings, along with several other aspects of the Moorish American Muslim doctrine that he brought for practice and study. The main charge levied is that Noble Drew Ali essentially invented a history by approaching Moorish roots and then combining them with the biblical Moabites and Canaanites. Emphasis is placed upon the word biblical. By placing Moab and Canaan in a biblical container, it anchors several psychological aspects. It creates the notion that Moab can only be found in the biblical record and has no other place outside of it. It highlights the shameful origins of Moab as a child of incest. All right? So he's kind of saying that, Moab and Canaan and all these nations and tribes and people, this reference, these words, are not just only found in the Bible. It's what he's trying to let you know. And that it seems like in the Bible, right, he's trying to say they're making them sound bad. Especially when they're talking about Moab, right? Moab was from Lot and his daughter, right? So they're saying that Moab is a child of incest in the Bible, right? I mean, I'm sure you've read that, right? So they're kind of not liking that part, right? For those who practice European psychology, to which has been dubbed white supremacy, this literary attempt to keep the Moabites, who are from Canaan, all right? Canaan is said to represent the Negro, all right? So Canaan is said to represent the Negro. So where does that, how does that relate? How is Canaan related to Negro? All right. All right. So again, we're in the Sunderville Bible dictionary, right? And it says Canaan, Canaanites. All right. So they just told us the Canaan, Canaanites meant Negro in that article, right? It says here that Canaan was the son of Ham in the genealogical list in Genesis 9:10. His descendants occupied Canaan and took their name from that country. Says Canaan was one of the old names for Palestine, the land of Canaanites disposed by the Israelites. So Canaanites were occupying Judea or Israel, the original promised land, or Canaan. Right? Israel's a nation, not a place, right? So this was basically taken over by the Israelites, or Joshua, when they kicked out the Canaanites, right? Canaanites. When they kicked out the Canaanites. The etymology of the name is unknown, as is also the earliest history of the name. But Egyptian inscriptions of 1800 BC use it for the coastline between Egypt and Asia Minor. In the Amarna letters of 1400 BC, the name is applied to the Phoenician coast. According to Judges 1:9-10, Canaanites dwelt throughout the land. In Genesis 12:6, 24, 3, 37, Joshua 3 and 10, the Canaanites include the whole pre-Israelite population, even east of the Jordan. The language of Canaan, in Isaiah 19:18, refers to the group of West Semitic languages of which Hebrew, Phoenician, Moabite were dialects. Moabite, Phoenician. The Canaanites were of Semitic stock and were part of the large migration of Semites, Phoenicians, Amorites, Canaanites, right? Who are these people? When they talk about Semitic, from Northeast Arabia in the 3rd millennium BC, they came under Egyptian control in 1500 BC. The Israelites were never able to completely exterminate them. Many were undoubtedly absorbed by their conquerors. The continued presence rendered the religious problem of the Israelites serious and difficult. All right, so again, Ham, right? Because they just told us the Canaan meant Negro, right? In that article from Sheikh Elway, right? But it says here that Ham, right? He's the progenitor of dark races, yes, but not the Negroes. Not the Negroes. Dark races, yes. A lot of different dark races on earth, right? Dark complexion people. But they don't mean that they are part of the Negroes, or those being called Negroes, Negus, Nagas. If you got Negus, right, in Ethiopia, that means king, right? Emperor, king. If you add a R, you got Negrus. You go to Europe and these people start translating something, it becomes Negros eventually. You got the Nagas, Naga, Negrus, Negus. Alright? Again, Ham is the progenitor, yes, of the dark races, but not the Negroes. Not the Negroes. Not the Negroes. Now I want to show you this. I found this like 2-3 years ago. I haven't used it that much. I've been wanting to use it a lot more with the videos. Just haven't been able to get to it. It's so much info, right? But I just want to show you, this is a chronology timeline. I call it chronology of a hijack in detail, because it's basically what they teach us, supposedly chronology, right? The way they teach us, starting from all the way to Adam, right? Cain, Abel, Adam and Eve, Enoch, see their lines and everything, and it keeps going. The patriarchs, right? The original patriarchs before the flood, and then we get to Noah, right? So let me just zoom in. So this chronology, if you print it out, it's about 20 to 25 feet long. It's really big, so you can zoom in a lot. All right, very cool. You can see their detail of how they want to interpret history, but there is some truth in this. All right, even though they're putting things in BC times and stretching things out, making duplicates out of people and kingdoms. All right, we kind of can get like an idea of these lineages, right? So again, we're talking about Ham, right? Noah and Ham, right? So they're saying that these Canaanites are kind of like Semitic. I don't know, like, because they're coming out of Ham, right? Even though they're coming out of Noah and the patriarchs. I would say that Semitic or Semitic would be more from the line of Shem. And, Mizraim, Cush, Canaan, as you can see here, Canaan, right over here. Canaan is not of Shem. So, I'm just trying to let you know. But if you go to Shem, right, and we're talking about Moab, right, we're talking about Abraham and Abraham's brother Lot, right, that's over here, right? So Terah, who was Abraham's dad and Lot's dad, right? Abraham right here. You see Lot, he has two daughters, and it says Moab, father of the Moabites, Ben-Ami, father of the Ammonites. All right, these are supposedly out of incest with his two daughters. All right, something we got to dig on. All right, I'm not saying that's fully true, but I'm just trying to tell you what it says in the Bible. So I guess if you're talking about Moabites, these are Shemitic because they're coming from Shem. So if you're mixing Moabites and Ammonites, Amorites with descendants of Ham, which are Canaanites, Cushites, or Mizraim, Nimrod, and you mix these people together, I guess eventually they become Semitic, right? But they weren't always Semitic because this is from Ham. All right, so again, not all Negroes come out of Ham. Yes, he has the progenitor of most of the dark races, the really darker ones in the world, and but not all of them, not the Negroes. All right, so I just wanted to clear that because that article, it's kind of taking the narrative somewhere, and the best way to put it. Let's go back to the article. All right, so we're back in the article here, and again, he was telling us that Moabite or Canaan is said to represent Negro, right? But we just read the definition of Ham, and it's telling us that yeah, he's a progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negroes. So his whole thing right here is trying to say that white people or Europeans have tried to make Ham, right, cursed and be the Negro only, and so that's why they're saying Canaan is cursed and all that, and it plays right into their hands, as he's saying here. So he's saying to be a servant plays right into their hands, according to his whole view that Ham is the Negro, and they're trying to make Ham the cursed one, but he wasn't the only so-called Negro. All right, now we continue in this book, right? So it says, in the book Islam in the African American Experience, Prophet Noble Drew Ali is merely noted as bringing to the Moors in America an alternate identity consistent of Moroccan, Canaanite, and Moabite ancestry. Turner 203, page 92-93. Mr. Turner, the author of said book, apparently did not take the time to research if this was the actual identity as opposed to an alternate one. In other works on Islamic movements of the early 20th century, Prophet Noble Drew Ali's teachings in this regard are called innovative. Gomez 2005. One way to say he made them up, as opposed to it being fact-based historicity. You will find similar in most books dealing with the subject of Noble Drew Ali. One of the most blatant examples of the point made above can be found in a work entitled Muslims on the Americanization Path. But how had biblical Moabites, who inhabited what is now the nation-state of Jordan, become modern-day Moroccans, occupying the northwest corner of the African continent? All right, good question. So if we're dodging the hijack, right, where was the Jordan? There's a Jordan River in Utah. So what are we talking? There is a Moab. There's a town or a city named Moab in Utah. So which one are we talking about? And how do they end up in the African continent? It says Noble Drew Ali's intention, it seems, was to lay claim to the grandeur of the former Moorish Empire, while at the same time grounding Moorish American identity in biblical antiquity. From the scriptures, Prophet Ali extracted a Moabite identity for African Americans. So, again, according to Prophet noble Jubilee, right? The so-called African American is a Moabite, right? A Moabite. Got that clear? All right. So according to him, now remember, but his real goal, or so it appears, was to appropriate the more recently arrived and decidedly non-biblical Moabites. So this author is saying that it's not that he's trying to say he's the biblical Moabites, but the actual historical Moabites, which, if you know, read into the history, and we might get into that, it basically seems to be the same people. All right, and just look at this, just the R missing there. All right, or Almoravids. All right, these historical people, these clans. All right, they are being identified with Moors early on. All right, or with the word Moor, Almoravids, Amorites, Moabites, Moabites. It says an error, no doubt attributed to post-vocalic R deletion in African American speech patterns. Ebonics be praised. The term Moabite was derived from the Arabic word Murabti, meaning bound, as in a religious order. Murabti was the name assumed by North African Muslims who submitted to purified Islamic doctrine during the period spanning the mid-11th to mid-12th centuries. All right, so Murabi, a Mura is bound, as in a religious order. All right, this was North African Muslims who submitted to purified Islamic doctrine. That's what a Murabit is. All right, we're talking about faiths here. All right, religions. Hence, Moabites were indeed Moors. All right, who inhabited the northwestern shores of Africa and beyond, and were it actually possible for Moorish Americans to trace their ancestry directly to the Moors of Morocco, Moabite, but not Moabite ancestors will likely be found among them. All right, so this is not Noble Jubilee saying that, or the author. He's just quoting somebody, Haddad and Esposito from 2000. The curse of Canaan. The curse of Canaan. We're going to get into that, all right? Which would become the curse of Ham. Essentially nothing. These two characters are the same eponymously. Is opulently vital to these treaties, although it will not be fully expounded on here. The curse of Canaan was used as the main justification for the enslavement of a whole race of people. Example, Black, African. All right, so let's dodge the hijack. Let's dodge the hijack big time here, all right? Because again, he's trying to say that Ham and Canaan and all his descendants were the only black people, right? But we go back to the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, right, from the 1960s, the original. And what does it tell us about Ham? It says that he is the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8 persons to live through the flood. Now listen to this. He became the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negroes. All right? Not the Negroes. So who's really getting enslaved? It's not the Negroes. If you're saying it was only Ham, then it would have been Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. Weren't these people on the other side of Africa? Most of these people? When did they go to Nubia and Kush to enslave people and bring them to America? It was in the West African countries, not on the other side of Africa they were taking people from. All right? So again, Ham is the progenitor of dark races, but not the Negroes, not the Nagas, the Negus, the priest kings, the Nagas, not the Negroes, the Khans, not the Khans, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. All right? So I'm not trying to like make anybody look bad or just try to really talk bad about anybody or anybody's beliefs, but you see where people are hijacking a whole narrative. All right, so because you got cursed, because Canaan got cursed, according to this author, this Moorish author, that meant that all the black people got enslaved because of that. And I just read Ham, right? Definition. And he's not the progenitor of the Negroes, but only of some dark races. All right. So this statement right here, we got to dodge the hijack. It wasn't just because of that. It wasn't because they were descendants of Ham only. And either way, it didn't happen from Africa over here. All right. We already broke that down. It happened in reverse. They took you over there, not the other way around. All right. So let's continue. People. So it says the enslavement of black African people. It has been the center of subject and debate for hundreds of years, as noted by several citations in the New World Encyclopedia. The New York Times even carried an article regarding this topic of Canaan's connection to the enslavement and eventual mistreatment of the Moors, called blacks, Negroes, the Moors. All right. So he's trying to say that all these blacks and Negroes are from Canaan, when Ham is not even the progenitor of the Negroes. We just read that, right? So what are you talking about, bro? In American society also, says Lee 2003, this author will not harp upon the curse of Canaan Ham at present, other than to say it was the sole justification used for the enslavement of the dark-skinned people wherever Judeo-Christianity spread. All right, that's funny because the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V was a dark-skinned person, a Negro. So you're saying wherever this Christianity, Judeo spread, they enslaved only black people, but it's dark-skinned people doing it too. So what are you talking about? Are you saying the Spaniards who were Christians? Are you saying none of them were dark-skinned or Moors? That's totally false. We've already debunked that, and we're going to address that in this video as well. All right? This whole thing is conjecture, and it's basically hijacking a narrative. It's basically being told in a certain way for a specific reason, so you can be influenced in a specific way. All right, because this is a very this subject right here of Christians enslaving black people, and just like that, like black and white, that's we have to update that thinking. It's not, history's not like that. It's not black and white. And they've been trying to make it black and white ever since. All right. Prophet Noble Drew Ali would use this term Moab in relation to the Moors. He placed emphasis on this relationship from historical antecedents to present day. All right, he used historical stuff and records. From Ali's doctrine, starting with the Holy Quran. All right, starting with the what? The Holy Quran. That's a Bible, Islam, right? Religion of the Moorish Science Temple of America, nicknamed the Circle 7 Quran. The 7 Circle Quran. And you know what? We have this. I have their Bible. We're going to get into it. So this is supposedly a quote from it. So let's pay attention to what Drew Ali has to tell us. And it says, in quotes, the industrious acts of the Muslims of the Northwest and Southwest Africa. These are the Moabites, Hamites, and Canaanites. All right. So who's the Muslims of the Northwest and Southwest Africa? These are Moabites, Hamites, and Canaanites. This is from Drew Ali, who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua. Oh, man. Joshua? Are you talking about Jehoshua, Jahawashi? Are you talking about Quetzalcoatl? Joshua was here in America. So what are we talking about then? So he drove Moabites, Hamites, Canaanites out of Canaan, out of America, Canaan. He drove them out, Jahawashi. Oh, what is the story behind Joshua? Didn't Joshua lead a campaign to get all these cities and towns that were occupied by Canaanites, by Moabites and Hamites? Because they weren't supposed to be there. The land was promised to them, right? To Abraham's descendants. And so Joshua fulfilled that prophecy by reclaiming the Holy Land, Canaan. We're talking about in America. All right, and he had to take out the people that were there. All right. So what I'm trying to say here is, even Drew Ali's letting you know, yeah, even though you've been here, Moabite, Hamites, and Canaanites, eventually you were driven out by Jehoshua, because there is a big reason, and we're going to read that, because this land was promised to a certain people, a certain nation. All right, it wasn't your lot. You weren't supposed to settle there. All right, so let's continue. It says, who were driven out by Joshua and received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt. All right, in that portion, they had to get permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle, because they had been driven out of Canaan. In later years, they formed themselves kingdoms. These kingdoms are called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, and Tripoli. Right? These are the same people that got driven out by Joshua, and they became so. See what they're trying to say? Like, they're trying to say that Joshua's not a Negro or a dark-skinned person. They're trying. What are they? They're saying that he drove out all the so-called Negroes out of the Americas or Canaan. You understand what the narrative they're taking, all right? So before I continue, I just wanted to bring your attention, if in case you don't know the story of the Bible, right? When they were splitting off the lots, Noah reached, when the ark found dry soil and they came out, and then Noah started splitting the lots between his 3 sons. All right, so we go, if you've ever heard of the Book of Jubilees, this is an apocryphal book they took out. All right, some don't consider it historical correct, but it is in the Orthodox Bibles, like in Ethiopia. They have the Book of Jubilees still, right? In the Book of Enoch and things like that. So chapter 8 of the Book of Jubilees says, the earth divided into 3 parts for Shem and Ham and Japheth. All right, who were the sons of Noah. I mean, I can go into it right here, right? I just want to show you there's different versions. The Book of Jubilee in the 29th Jubilee in the first week. All right, in the 29th Jubilee in the first week. So, I mean, get your own, if you have the Jubilees book, but, just read it on your own in your own version. It's hard to get, actual biblical books on it. I do have a PDF. Can't find it right now. An older version, but the earth divided into 3 parts for Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right. So we're in Jubilees, Book of Jubilees 8, right? 8:10, right? And it says, and it came to pass in the beginning of the 33rd Jubilee that they divided the earth into 3 parts for Shem, for Ham, and Japheth, according to the inheritance of each, in the first year, in the first week, when one of us who had been sent was with them. And he called his sons, they're talking about Noah, and they drew nigh to him, they and their children, and he divided the earth into the lots, a lot, which his 3 sons were to take in possession. And they reached forth their hands and took the writing out of the bosom of Noah, their father. And there came forth on the writing as Shem's lot. All right. Now this is the lot, the land he gave Shem. Now listen to this, the Shem's lot. The middle of the earth. The middle of the earth. Did you guys know Cusco means navel of the earth or middle of the earth? Cusco. Jerusalem said to be in the middle of the earth. Also, Mount Zion is in the middle of the earth. All right, so you're going to see a lot of references to Shem's land as in the middle of the earth, and all these holy places in the middle of the earth. So if you got Lemuria, let's say you got Lemuria, right? Then you got America, and then you got Atlantis. Wouldn't America be in the middle? All right, just saying. But I just want you to pay attention to that. All right, so he got the middle of the earth. All right, which he should take as an inheritance for himself and for his sons, for the generations of eternity. from the middle of the mountain range of Rapha, from the mouth of the water from the river Tina, and his portion goes towards the west, through the midst of this river, and it extends till it reaches the water of the abysses, out of which this river goes forth and pours its waters into the sea meet. And this river flows into great sea, and all that is towards the north is Japheth's, and all that towards the south belongs to Shem. All right. And it extends till it reaches Karaso. This is the bosom of the tongue, which looks towards the south. And his portion extends along the great sea, and it extends into a straight line till it reaches the west of the tongue, which looks towards the south. For this sea is named the tongue of the Egyptian Sea. Are we talking about the Gulf of Mexico when we're talking about the Egyptian Sea? Do the recon. And it turns from here towards the south, towards the mouth of the great sea, on the shores of its waters. And it extends to the west to Afra, and it extends till it reaches the waters of the river Gihon, and to the south of the waters of Gihon, to the banks of this river. And it extends towards the east, till it reaches the Garden of Eden, to the south thereof. All right, so the Garden of Eden is in Shem's land, the middle of the earth. And from the east of the whole land of Eden, and of the whole east, it turns to the east and proceeds till it reaches the east of the mountain named Rapha, and it descends to the bank of the mouth of the river Tina. This portion came forth by lot for Shem and his sons, that they should possess it forever, until his generations forevermore. All right, so that was Shem's lot. And Noah rejoiced that this portion came forth for Shem and for his sons, and he remembered all that he had spoken with his mouth in prophecy. For he had said, Blessed be Yahweh of Shem, and may Yahweh dwell in the dwelling of Shem. All right. And he knew that the Garden of Eden is the Kodesh of Kodeshim, and the dwelling of Yahweh. And Mount Sinai, the center of the desert, and Mount Zion, the center of the navel of the earth. The navel. Do you know what Cusco means in Quechua? Navel of the earth. Same thing. Navel. These three were created as Kodesh places facing each other. All right, that's over here. And he blessed the Almighty of gods, who had put the word of Yahweh into his mouth, and Yahweh forevermore. And he knew that a blessed portion and a blessing had come to Shem and his sons until the generations forever, the whole land of Eden, and the whole land of the Red Sea. We're talking about the Gulf of California. Just look at old maps, you'll see Red Sea all over it. The first name of the Gulf of California, the Red Sea. Red Sea. Look at the old maps. And the whole land of the East and India. And on the Red Sea, and on the mountains thereof, and all the land of Bashan, and all the land of Lebanon, and the islands of Kaphtor, and all the mountains of Sanir and Amana, and the mountains of Ashur in the north, and all the land of Elam, Ashur, and Babel, and Susan, and Madai, and all the mountains of Ararat, and all the region beyond the sea, which is beyond the mountains of Ashur, towards the north, a blessed and spacious land, and all that is in it very good. All right, so Shem land is a blessed and spacious land, and all that is in it is very good. You saw my video when Columbus and them arrived here, how they saw all the fruits, how they said these people were living like in the golden age, like these were the people of the Bible, like the people living in the Eden. We're just talking about Amaruka. We're just talking about the real promised land, the land of Shem. Now it says for him, right? All right. Remember, we're watching this video. We're talking about Jubilee, the Moors, right? And how Jubilee says they're, descendants of Ham, right? Canaan, Canaanites, and Moabites, right? And now it says, and for Ham came forth the second portion, all right? Beyond the Gihon, towards the south, to the right of the garden. To the right of the garden, not in the garden. And it extends towards the south, and it extends to all the mountains of fire. And it extends towards the west of the sea of Atel, and it extends towards the west till it reaches the sea of Ma'uk, that sea into which everything which is not destroyed descends. and it goes forth towards the north of the limits of Gadir, and it goes forth to the coast of the waters of the sea, to the waters of the great sea, till it draws near to the river Gihon, and goes along the river Gihon, till it reaches the right of the Garden of Eden. And this is the land which came forth for Ham, as the portion which he was to occupy forever, for himself and his sons unto their generations forever. Alright, so that was Ham's land. Now it says, and for Japheth came forth the third portion beyond the river Tina, to the north of the outflow of its waters, and it extends northeasterly to the whole region of Gog, and to the country east thereof. And it extends northerly to the north, and it extends to the mountains of Kel toward the north, and towards the sea of Mauk, and it goes forth to the east of Gadir, as far as the region of the waters of the sea. And it extends until it approaches the west of Farah, and it returns towards Aphar Rock, and it extends easterly to the waters of the sea of Me'at. And it extends to the region of the river Tina in a northeasterly direction until it approaches the boundary of its waters towards the mountain Rapha, and it turns around towards the north. This is the land which came forth for Japheth and his sons, as the portion of his inheritance, which he should possess for himself and his sons, for their generations forever. 5 great islands, and a great land in the north. But it is cold, right? It is cold in Japheth's land, and the land of Ham is hot. It's hot in Ham's land. Listen to this. This is key. It is cold in Japheth's land, and it is hot in Ham's land. Hot. Where's it really hot? All right. You know, it gets really hot. Africa and India, Hindustan, I mean, gets hot. And the land of Shem is neither hot nor cold. We got the perfect weather, but it is a blended cold and heat. We got how many seasons? Spring, fall. Again, it's too cold in Japheth's land and it's too hot in Ham's land, but guess what? Shem's land is neither hot nor cold. It is of blended cold and heat. Amaruka, a blended of cold and heat. All right, that's here. Even where I live in Middle Central America, close to South America, close to the equator, we have cold places here, high mountains, whole regions that are really chilly here where I live. And then we got really hot places, and then we got really tempered weather, like a blended cold and heat, like California weather. So you understand what's going on and what it's saying here to us? All right. Now, chapter 9 of the Book of Jubilees, basically it says the sons of Noah now divide their portion. So it says how their sons went out and, gathered land. So it says Ham divided amongst his sons, and the first portion came forth for Cush towards the east, and to the west for him for Mizraim, and to the west of him for Put, and to the west of him, and to the west thereof on the sea for Canaan. All right, so it says Shem did the same. So let's go back to the map I had, right? Now he said he gave it to Mizraim, Cush, Put. All right, now just real quick, just go back to the map I had earlier. All right, so again, right, Ham, right here, Ham. He had Mizraim, right? Mizraim, Cush, Put, right here, Canaan, Nimrod. You see all these people that came out of Ham? All right. Now, so we got Mizraim, right? It says Mizraim or Manes. This is the real Manes. This is the Manes, the one who founded Egypt, right? This is Mizraim. That's Noah's son, right? Descendant of Ham, settles Egypt and builds Thebes. All right. The descendants of Canaan settle Phoenicia. Phoenicians, Canaanites, or Canaan. Canaan is in America. All right. So just get a reference. All right. Let's just keep getting a historical reference, biblical and historical. Let's try to put this historically. All right. Not just biblically. All right. I know there's a lot of allegory and stuff going on here, but there's some truth in this. And Drew Ali did say, he was saying it for a reason. I'm going to read why. All right. So let's just go back real quick to the Book of Jubilees, all right? Because there's an important part. All right, so we're in chapter 10 of the Book of Jubilees, right? And I just want to read something about Canaan, one of Ham's descendants, right? And the title of this says, Unclean demons began to lead the sons of Nohr astray. Now, chapter 10 of the Book of Jubilees actually mentions the whole, when they're talking about these demons, whatever, so they're saying, kind of like saying falling angels or whatever, somebody led these people astray. And they started, they did their Tower of Babel. They built the Tower of Babel. They wanted to be greater and reach the heavens, right? Or God, whatever, the story. And it says that after they got dispersed, right? When Hawah got mad and destroyed the Tower of Babel, right? And chapter 10 of the Book of Jubilees says, this happened in the 4th week in the 1st year, in the beginning thereof, in the 4th and 13th Jubilee, where they dispersed from the land of Shinar. And Ham and his sons went into the land which he was to occupy, which he acquired as his portion in the land of the south. So Ham went to his lot that Noah had given him, right? Now this part of the story, and this is a reason that I came over here to read the Book of Jubilees, so you guys can understand something in case, you don't have this, well, at least know of this, scripture or story in the Bible. All right, now, Canaan, right? Remember Canaan, was the son of Ham, right? Descendant of Ham, right? Now, remember, Drew Ali said that the Moors are ancient Moabites and Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Now, they say that Canaan, the land of Canaan, was named after Canaan because he settled there, right? But was this his land or Lot? Now, listen to this. This is very important, all right? Now, Canaan saw the land of Lebanon to the river of Egypt. Now, if we remember, the land of Lebanon into the river Egypt, that was the land of Shem. That was in Shem's land. All right, so Canaan saw Shem's land, basically, that it was very good. He saw Shem's land and he liked it. And he went not into the land of his inheritance to the west, that is to the sea. So he didn't go where he was supposed to, the land of his inheritance, where he was supposed to go, his lot, right, according to what they had given him and his sons. He didn't go there, but he dwelt, or he settled, in the land of Lebanon, basically in Shem's land, right, eastward and westward from the border of Jordan and from the border of the sea. All right, you guys understand that? So Canaan did not go where he was supposed to go, to the land where they gave Ham. All right, now reading this biblical scripture here, right? All right, let's just surf the wave real quick with me, man. All right, so Canaan went to a lot or a land that he didn't belong to, and he just settled there, all right, without permission. And Ham, his father, and Cush and Mizraim, his brother, said to him, so even his family, his dad and his brothers was like, yo, you have settled in a land which is not yours. Yo, Canaan, what are you doing there? This ain't your land, man. Don't settle there. And which did not fall to us by lot. This was not assigned to us by contract. There's a contract here. There's lots. You can't have all the lots. You can't have all the land. Who does that? Who came over here to America and said, this is my land. You can't have it? Who took your land? This is a repetitive, recurrent thing, it seems. All right? And his brothers and father told him, yo, Canaan, this did not fall to us by lot. This was not given to us by contract, by Hawah. Do not do so. Don't go settle over there. For if you do so, because if you settle over there, Canaan, and Shem's land, you and your sons will fall in the land and be accursed through sedition. For by sedition you have settled, and by sedition your children fall, and you shall be rooted out forever. All right? They warned him, right? And who's warning him? Who's warning him? Was this the Most High? It's his own dads and brothers telling him, yo, you're gonna be cursed. You're not supposed to be there. You're going to be cursed through sedition, and through sedition, you're going to be taken out. Your children, your ancestors, your descendants, right? It says your descendants, they let them know that your descendants are going to be cursed. They're going to be rooted out forever. And they told them, dwell not in the dwelling of Shem. For to Shem and to his sons did it come by their lot. Don't settle, don't take Shem's land. Don't go over there, Canaan. That was given to Shem as their lot. That's their contract by the Most High. This is your promised land. It wasn't for Canaan. He had his own land in the hot land of Ham. Cursed are you, and cursed shall you be beyond all the sons of Noah, by the curse by which we bound ourselves by an oath in the presence of the Kodesh judge and in the presence of Noah, our father. All right? They're letting him know, man, they took an oath, right? They took an oath. These are our lots. Okay, agree. We go there, you go here, we go there. But Canaan didn't care about no oaths, no lots. He didn't care about the Most High's permission. All right? But he did not listen to them, and dwelt in the land of Lebanon from Hamath to the entering of Egypt. And he and his sons until this day. You understand what happened? He didn't care. He went to Shem's land, Amaraka. All right? Him and his sons till this day. For generations they've been there. For generations they were there. All right? So it became known as the land of Canaan because he went and settled there without permission. All right? Because Shem's descendants hadn't even reached there yet. They hadn't even reached there yet. All right? But it was promised. That's the whole point of a promised land. Promised to the descendants of Shem. That was their lot by contract. It's not about stories. It's a contract. You had your own lot. All right? You had your own lot. And now, because his sons and him settled there for generations, and for this reason, that land is named Canaan. Only for that reason. It doesn't mean it was his. And again, we're back in the article, Moors, Moabites, and Berbers. All right, by the Chikwe, Al-Chikwe. And we're back in this article again by this Moorish scholar. We're quoting Drew Ali here from the Circle 7 Quran. We got that too. But again, Drew Ali told us that the industrious acts of the Muslims of the Northwest and Southwest Africa, these are the Moabites, Hamites, Canaanites, who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua. All right, so why were they driven out? Oh, you're saying they were so innocent. They were there. Joshua, he's the enemy. He's the enemy, according to a Moabite. Yes, he is. According to a Canaanite and a Hamite, yes, he is. Because why? Because he drove these people who settled in his land. Wouldn't you do the same? You got somebody in your land talking about this is my land when this was given to you by lot, by contract. Right? So Joshua was just doing what he was supposed to do. Right? When they talk about a curse, when they talk about you will be cursed, your generations will be cursed and you'll be rooted out. Well, Joshua rooted you out. Jehoshua gets a coat. What are we talking about here? Manko kapak. All right, and so they had to receive permission from the pharaohs of Egypt, right? These people who were taken out of the land of Shem or Amaraka or the so-called land of Canaan, they had to receive permission from the pharaohs to settle in that portion of Egypt. And again, in later years, they formed themselves kingdoms, these same people. These kingdoms are called to this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, and Tripoli. You understand? You understand? Talking about all these people came out of nowhere, these Phoenicians, they come out of the Middle East. No, they came from America. They were driven out of America, of the land of Canaan by Jehoshua. like it's a coat. And then they went and settled and made their kingdoms, and they named them Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, and Tripoli. All right? Are you following me? Let's keep going. The key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations. Now, this is again a quote from Noble Drew Ali. The Moorish, who were ancient Moabites, all right? Letting you know, Drew Ali is letting you know, Moorish, who are the ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. The Egyptians, who were the Hamites, all right? Just letting you know who the Moors are, the Moorish Hamites, and of a direct descendant of Mizraim. We already got that right. Mizraim or Menes, when a Ham's son. All right. The Arabians, the seed of Hagar. Japanese and Chinese. The Hindus of India, the descendants of the ancient Canaanites, Hittites, and Moabites of the land of Canaan. You see, he just broke it down. Noble Drew Ali is letting you know. The dark races, but not the Negroes. This is what they're talking about. They're talking about the dark races, but not the Negroes. The Hindus too. All right? Don't leave the Hindus out of it. We're talking about the Hindus of Hindustan, not India. It was called Hindustan. These are all the descendants of ancient Canaanites, Hittites, and Moabites of the land of Canaan. These people, even the ancient Japanese and Chinese, ancient, original, we're talking about the aboriginal, dark skin, so-called Japanese, Chinese. Alright, these were ancient Canaanite, Hittites, and Moabites of the land of Canaan. The land, so-called land of Canaan. This was Shem in America, right? And Joshua what? Drove them out because Canaan and these people and his descendants were not supposed to be there. They weren't supposed to be there. This is from their own words, right? Letting you know, Drew Ali letting you know. The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. What Rome? Roma, a land of promise. What are we talking about here? The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. The Roman nations founded the first church, of whom crucified Jesus of Nazareth for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. Now this is Noble Drew Ali's quotes, remember that. Now listen to what Drew Ali says. Jesus, or Sus, drop the J, you get Jesus, Sus. There's no J's in Paleo Hebrew. We're not talking about Joshua when we're talking about Jesus, Jehoshua, Yahawashi. Two different people. Hawah Hijack. Himself was the true blood of an ancient Canaanite and Moabite and the inhabitants of Africa. So according to Drew Ali, listen to this. According to Noble Drew Ali, Jesus himself was of true blood of the ancient Canaanites and Moabites. But I thought Jesus was from the line of David or Jesse. I thought Jesus was from the line of Jesse. And that would make him from the line of Shem, not Ham. So how is Jesus a Canaanite? Because maybe we're talking about a different person. Maybe Drew Ali is right when he's talking about Jesus being a Canaanite, Moabite, and an inhabitant of Africa. All right. Again, Drew Ali says the Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. Alright, they received permission from the pharaoh of Egypt to settle northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. Who? The Moabites from the land of Moab. The Moabites from the land of Moab. Are we talking about Moab, Utah? Did they also settle in Shem's land? They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. The Moabites, a Moabite, all right? With their Canaanite and Hittite and Amorite brethren, all right? Not just Moabites, but also their other bros, their cousins, their distant cousins, their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. You see all these people who were driven out of Canaan seeking new homes. Wasn't there an influx of Phoenicians all of a sudden in Europe? Where were they coming from? These so-called Phoenicians who spoke so-called Phoenician Paleo-Hebrew. That was from America, Paleo-Hebrew. They found a rock here in New Mexico, Paleo-Hebrew, of the Ten Commandments. Los Lunas Stones, New Mexico. Search it right now. All right? You understand what I'm trying to tell you? All right, so listen to this. All right, they're seeking new homes. Why else all these people seeking new homes? They just got kicked out, right, by Jehoshua. Their dominion and habitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa, across Great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands before the great earthquake, which caused the Great Atlantic Ocean. All right, again, because why were they here in Central Mexico and Atlantis and all that? Because they settled. Canaan settled. Remember, he settled in the law he wasn't supposed to. Yeah, you were here too. Yeah, you were here too. Yeah, you had turbans on and everything. Yep, Canaanites, Moabites, Hittites, Amorites. Yeah, you were here. You settled in the land of Shem. And you weren't supposed to. Yes, you were here.